Hello everyone, this is Charlotte and this is a podcast called Chatting in Cars. This is where I pick random topics and I talk about them in length. Hopefully my sound doesn't cut out, which happened before and it was very annoying because I recorded a whole podcast and only 0.3 seconds of it was recorded. I do talk about some sensitive topics, absolutely. I'm willing to talk about anything. I don't give a shit right now. I'm way too old and I've been through too much shit to start having, false senses of decorum. So this is more to be in discussion for enlightenment. Anyone who's not gone through it, I want to get some grasp of what actual people go through or different people go through, or, if you've had that safe environment growing up, which the majority of us haven't, so it seems. This will give you some insight into what really happens with the real world. If I get one more celebrity saying they want to be normal, I'm going to Rochambeau them in the balls. So I do swear considerably. I'm not going to say sorry about that. I enjoy it. Hanging around. Sorry, getting around people that don't know what the fuck they're doing. I am currently driving, so you might hear me swearing at people that can't drive, park, merge, indicate, all the general things. Anyway, with those pleasantries out the way, the topic for today is greed. Now, I've plucked this one out of the air because generally I'm pissed off currently right now. Mainly because, thanks to my lovely landlord, they've just upped the rent yet again. 6 months down, it's the second increase since I got locked into a year-long contract, so I'm not impressed. I know I complained earlier about it in my other podcasts. And it is pure greed at this point. It's this, I signed the lease January last year. My rent is $470. Well, it started off at $470 per week. I thought, cool, reasonable. Okay, nice area. I can do this. Not a problem. Now, I assumed that it would stay that way for the year-long contract, which is what I signed initially. But 6 months in, we're upping it to $490. Okay, all right. That's not a lot of an increase. All right. Got to another 6 months, so coming up in April now, it's going to be $515 per week. So that's an increase of $90 a fortnight, which is what I'm working on now. $90 is considerable considering I'm still trying to save for my own house. And I've got into the whole, I set myself the challenge of going and living the poverty lifestyle, which is interesting. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying the challenge. But I wanted to understand what my parents had gone through and what other people are currently going through with, next to no money and stuff like that. So this has been eye-opening. I could afford the rent increase, but to be honest, it's more the insult of it. Because they knew once I was locked into the contract, I would be paying the rent. And I think they are assuming that I'm lazy enough not to move, given the insult. You know what it is, it's like, they're already established, they've been there a year, they're going to want to carry on the next contract, and they're just going to keep bumping up that rent, assuming that I'm too lazy to move. Now, I get pissed off quite easily when people take advantage of me. And I know they're being greedy, because at the start, I know they got their apartment refinanced, because I got an email from my landlord saying, they're having the apartment refinanced, this is not going to affect your tenancy at all. And 6 months later, I got the rent increase, the initial one. I'm sitting going, bullshit. You just upped my rent. And then you upped it again. So I'm a little bit pissed about that. So I'm thinking, you know what, fuck this. For the same amount I'm paying in rent, I can go and get an actual 4-bedroom house in a suburb, which I'm going to lean towards because honestly, it gives me more space anyway. It's a very nice apartment, I have to admit. And I do want to buy one like that, maybe if I stay single. It's small, it's, maintainable. There's not a lot of problem with it. Everything's working. I like that it's a secure apartment block. But at the same time, I'm like, you are taking the piss, aren't you? You've got to be up nearly $100 a fortnight in a series of a year. I don't think so. I don't think so, mate. So I'm going to be moving, which is a pain in the ass. But you know what? It could save me in the long term because I am still saving for that house. And if I get a cheaper rent, then, it's a bit more towards the savings. But the fact that I can either stick with this apartment, pay the extra, or get a 4-bedroom fucking house bugs the shit out of me. It's like, what value do you think you have on this apartment? And it is a bit of a shoebox apartment. It's bijou, It's not big. It's 1 bedroom in a tower block. And to be honest, there's cracks forming in the ceilings and walls and things like that. And I'm sitting there thinking, this is just cheaply made and knocked up in the particular area so that people can overcharge the rent. And I'm sitting there thinking, I can get a fucking house for this, mate. And if anything, you know, like any developments occur, like me getting a boyfriend and given my age, maybe they've got kids or something like that, it would be beneficial to have the more space, really. And it will set me up for practice, because I'm leaning towards getting a house when I buy anyway, compared to an apartment. And I've got like the backing for it. They can give me a mortgage for a particular amount, which is really good, actually. So really what I'm doing now is trying to save money for the buffer to get the house I really want. I've got the deposit already. But it's a piss take. It's greed. It's absolute greed. There's only one person who owns the apartment. I have a feeling, given their age, that it's paid off already. So they're just taking pay now. It's like, you're taking a piss. $100 in a fucking fortnight increase? I don't think so. And I know we're all going through a crisis right now, seemingly, where, you know, landlords have no problem upping rent to cover mortgage rate increases and things like that. But it's not as bad in Australia as it is in the UK, for example. The conditions are not as bad. So I'm wondering if they're just riding on this sort of... I'm trying to figure out what their motive is besides greed. It's like, you've got no real excuse. And I've paid a mortgage before, and I know what the increases in mortgages are like, and there's no way is it $100 nearly in a year. Is there a change? It's like, you are literally... You're playing a game, essentially. They wait till their tenants are locked in, can't leave, have no other options, and then up the rent. I know what they're doing. It's a piss take. And then they assume they're just going to get lazy and not want to move, because it requires all packing up the house and finding another place and all this business. And they're going, you don't know how my anger works. You're assuming I'm going to collapse and just sit with it and pay the rent and be your bitch. It's not going to happen. I'm going to fucking leave because you're taking the piss. It's weird. I have other options. I have many options, thankfully. My credit score is pretty good. Assholes. It's just greed. It pisses me off. And that's the kind of thing that a lot of people are facing these days. They ride out these fucking things. It's like when we went into COVID and suddenly all the prices got jacked up. And then I went into things like chemists, and they were having rat tests, for example. $70 per rat test. 70. I'm going, you're taking the piss. And then government started handing them out for free. I'm going, yeah, fuck you, chemist. What the fuck? It's profiteering off of someone else's problems. It's like when someone dies as well. The amount of a funeral is ridiculous. And of course you don't have a choice, because what are you going to do with this dead body, you know? It's like, it's okay, I've got a barbecue out back. It's like, what? You heard me. We're doing this on a budget. It's like they will fucking profiteer off of someone's tragedy. It's crazy. It is pure greed. It's not capitalism, unless it's some perverted version of capitalism. I hate it. I don't hate capitalism, because of course I've existed within a society where it's okay. It can be done properly. But this is taking the piss. I can't believe it. And it translates into other things. It's not just money. It's people being greedy in general. People wanting to hoard things. I hoard things, but it's not to that extent. I've come from a poverty background. I know to store things. I know how to be thrifty. I know how to be resourceful, to make do, to adapt things to situations where I don't have what I immediately need, so I need to create the product that will fill that gap. I fix things. I don't just throw things away. There's no, I'm not just hoarding things for the sake of having it over someone else. I'm hoarding it because I know I can use that. It's what I need. It's not just keeping shit for the sake of keeping shit and to say I have it. Some people are hoarding wealth right now. Do you know how much you could do with the amount of money these fuckers are hoarding? And it is greed, and it's disgusting. Now, I can't think of any reason why you would need that much wealth, for example, if you're a celebrity or part of some kind of institution that generates wealth on wealth on wealth, hereditary wealth, but doesn't use it for any kind of good. You don't need that. It's all show off, it's all ego. It's just saying or trying to purport that you're better than someone because you've hoarded all this stuff. It's toxic as fuck, because you just sit in it and you rot, Morals go out the window. I mean, we're currently looking at the royal family losing their shit right now. All the wealth in the world, all the privilege, and they're still acting like assholes. And you sit there and think, what the fuck is wrong with you people? You've been given everything. It's, all these gods we create, we've just got feet of clay, it turns out they're human after all. And they're just greedy bastards, to be honest. If it's not for money, it's attention. I can't stand greed. And don't even get me started when people steal my food. Oh my God. You fuckers. Oh my God, my ex-boyfriend used to steal my leftovers. Nah, I used to leave them. Because I knew he'd get hungry later. I'm like, I've had some, I'm good. It's all human ego as well. It's like no amount of hoarding or stealing or, just trying to take shit off other people is going to make your life better. It might make it momentarily better if you need money and you need to get out of a predicament. But long term, if you're just accumulating anything, it's just going to become toxic. You need to be in a constant state of flow and shedding off the excess. Otherwise, you're just going to get disgusting, basically. I mean, I'm not going into fat shaming, but, you think about it. If you get particularly big, you're hoarding food and calories, essentially. You're hoarding it in your body. That's what it is. You're not burning it off. You're not shedding it off. You get sick. You get diabetes. You get heart failure. All these things indicate that we've done something wrong. And then you get some arsehole turn around and say, are you fat shaming me? It's like, yes, I am. Because you've been greedy. You've hoarded all the calories. And then you're not trying to shed it or pass it off or do anything with it, You're not using it for any kind of good. If you wanted to teach people about their health or something like that, by losing weight, I would understand, because you're, transmuting into something that's useful and productive. Some people are just uneducated when it comes to how to, transmute bad habits like overeating, for example, into something that's healthy. Some people just sit with it, or they feel lazy, or I don't know. You could say that there's some kind of emotional predicament involved, where my brother's an emotional eater. I'm an emotional starver. That's residual from anorexia. I know that much. I don't have it really anymore because I do tend to face my shit up front these days, because I'm just too angry to let shit get to me. I'll go, right, fuck you. My best example of that was when I separated from my ex-husband, because I knew I could feel those old habits creeping back in, where I would just starve myself, and it's like, I don't need to eat. I can't be eating. I can't do all of this stuff. I don't want to do anything. I felt that creeping back in, and I, put my ass to the grindstone and said, no, we're not fucking doing this again. We're not letting him win, because it's what he would have wanted. He's a sadistic fuck. Anyway, but, my brother's an emotional eater. Every time he gets stressed or upset, he eats. I mean, he's created himself an environment with his passive-aggressive German wife, who will perpetuate that, to be honest, because she'll complain that he's getting fat. He'll get emotional about it because he's sensitive, and I love him for it. I have no problem with sensitive guys, but guys or people rather, that sit there in their emotions and don't do anything about it give me the shits. If you're just sitting in your own pity party, I don't like that. I'm like, you got to get out there. You got to get motivated and moving. Okay, let's get going. Let's not fuck around. And I don't know if that's a trauma response from the way my parents parented me, but But my brother's got the same mindset, I should think, right? So he's got no excuse. I don't know. Double standards. Girls were treated differently from boys in my family. I don't know why. Probably because my dad was a useless prick, but Anyway, hoarding food. You've got to find a way. I mean, if you were starving, if you were hoarding food or stealing food to feed other people to keep them in that state of sort of, dietary homeostasis. No one's fat, no one's thin. You want them in that mid-ground. If you were hoarding or stealing food for that, I would understand. What my grandma used to call feeding the 5,000. Trying to spread the two fishes, God knows how far, because, Jesus did it and she was Catholic, so we're going to do this now. So many things. But, nobody should be hoarding anything or being greedy or money, food, sex. I mean, my ex-boyfriend, I'm pretty convinced, was a sex addict, but he used sex as a means to justify his existence, I think. It was his self-esteem booster. He didn't go for quality, though. He went for quantity. He would fuck just about damn near anything, as long as he could say that he could fuck. You know? I'm sitting there looking at the girls and his ex-girlfriends and I'm going, oh my god, am I in this pile? Because the only reason I dated with him was because I had this candle for him, because I fell for this persona he had presented and created, 15 years ago. I had this image of him in my head, of this guy on this pedestal, and I thought he was actually this person, but turns out once you date them and you live with them, you realize they're actually pieces of shit, particularly the way they treat you. But, he values himself through how many people he can shag. And it's pathetic, really, because the girls inevitably leave. I don't know if he's doing guys as well, but I do have my suspicions, considering how close he is with his so-called bestie. I'm sitting there going, are you sure there's nothing going on there? Because it's a pretty, adventurous crowd he hangs around with. I'm going, are you sure you're not bi? And I'd take the piss and pull jokes and everything, but at the same time, he used to hoard people. One of his favorite tricks was even when he had a girlfriend, him and his girlfriend used to go out to pubs and clubs, and he used to be in the goth scene and the techno scene, or whatever the fuck that is. Techno, goth, I don't give a fuck. Anyway, and they used to go in very Epstein fashion. They used to go pull young girls and bring them home and have threesomes and shit. And I'm sitting there going, this is what you've based the value of you on, isn't it? This is greed. This is saying, I need to hoard all the people, or as many people as I can. If I can't do that, and if I can't pull people anymore, then, I have no value. This is just greed. And, I'm concerned about what the girls are feeling on the other side. Being on the receiving end of that when I was in my early 20s, because the first time I ever had sex with him, I was in my early 20s. And I was, by definition, a hit it and quit it. To be honest, he made no effort to contact me afterwards. He avoided me as long as he got what he wanted. He was happy, and he's fucked off with his then girlfriend, That was one of the horrible misdemeanors I experienced when I was in my early 20s, trying to fit in with a group that clearly was not my group. Horrible people in the end. They all dispersed, and then he latched onto another group. And he tried to do it again, and he's kept trying to do it again for the last 15 years, as far as I can tell, 20 years maybe. I don't know, I haven't been keeping track. He's a bit of a piece of shit. But I thought once he got to 40 that he might have outgrown that kind of shit, because it is a lad mentality, isn't it? He's got, I've got to get all the girls, we're going to get shit-faced, we're going to fuck. And it's like, yeah, I'm hoping by 40 you grew out of it, because that's got to sell by date by at least mid-20s. By mid-20s you start looking at, wait a minute, this is destructive and it's not going anywhere, isn't it? But he carried it on right up until his 40s, and he's still trying to pull it off. It's going to be really creepy when he's in his 60s and, still trying to pull girls. And his main trick is to get them drunk, to be honest. That seems to be the main trick. I don't know if he's, got up to roofying them or anything yet, but he gets them drunk. Because that was the way we kept getting back together. He'd say, let's go out for coffee, and then we'd go out for a pint, and then, yeah. He likes to get girls suggestible, to be honest, open to suggestion. But he's hoarding people, to be honest. It's not. He doesn't see them as people. He sees them as objects, as numbers, notches on a belt. This is why he never bothers to get emotionally involved with anyone, because if he does, then he might actually have to be accountable for how they feel about these activities or experiences, and he might feel anything like emotional guilt for the way he treats them, because as soon as he gets them, he treats them like shit, and then he fucks them off. It's disgusting, to be honest. And it's not just a male thing as well. Females do it as well. It's, although they call it these days, what do they call it? Expressing my sexual freedom. It's like, your freedom should not come at the cost of someone else's self-esteem or a sense of safety, regardless of whether they got an innie or an outie. I don't give a fuck. You cannot exploit these people. We wouldn't accept it from the guys. Why are we accepting it from the girls? Because it's expressing my sexuality. It's like, your sexuality is bullshit. Stop being an asshole. You're just hoarding people and acting like a hoe. And I expect more from women, to be honest, because we've been through it. We've been through all the fucked up parts of the masculine, toxic masculinity. And then we emulate it ourselves and call it something positive. It's like, no, the guys were doing this. Why are we doing this? It's a shit thing to do. No one should be doing this. It's disrespectful to anyone that you're trying to sleep with. Anyone you're trying to form a relationship, and all it does is build on more baggage and more trauma, and you're just putting that energy out there. It's hoarding people for the sake of saying you have these people, and these are, you know, notches on your belt, and these are your trophies. And people are not trophies. I mean, to be honest, that's just another form of sexual slavery, isn't it? If you're just considering them as objects to accumulate, it's very much a likeness to, you know, if you want to go into the BLM movement, that kind of slavery, because, you know, these are objects that you put to work and you exploit. That's why I don't like people that sleep around. I'm sitting there thinking, you don't give a fuck about these people, you just want to exploit them sexually, and you call it, you know, sexual liberation or freedom or some shit like that, but inevitably someone gets hurt, someone gets fucked over, and you escape scot-free unless you know, contract some kind of STD, and it gives me the shits. Because somewhere down the line, someone just like me is going to turn up, and you're going to realize that a lot of your trauma comes from someone who fucked you over, sexually, emotionally, psychologically, when you were just trying to experiment and understand yourself, and someone took advantage of that. And they loved it. And my ex-boyfriend's favorite line that he said repeatedly was, she knew what she was getting into. It's like, at 20? No. No one knows what the fuck they're doing at 20. I didn't fucking know what I was doing at 20. I didn't know what I was doing at 30. It wasn't until I got dropped absolutely in the shit on my own and everybody fucked off at 33 that I started going, hey, wait a minute. I'm gonna have to get myself out of this, aren't I? It's like, yeah, fuck. So no one knows what they're doing. And some people never know what they're fucking doing. They never know what they're doing, even all the way up until they die. It's like some people just never get a grasp of what the fuck they're supposed to be doing. I mean, they can perform to particular patterns which are designated to them by their parents, their social crowd, their peers or whatever like that, society, and they says this is what you're supposed to be doing. But ultimately, do they take ownership of these positions and roles, or do they just sort of fall into them because everybody else is doing it? It's like all these people that have had kids, for example. Did you actually want kids yourself, or did you sort of fall into it because A, someone got pregnant accidentally, or, you know, your parents had kids so it's expected of you? One of my brother's reasons for having kids was because he wanted to carry on the family name. I'm sitting there going, I've seen the family name, I've seen who's attached to it, fuck that. It's like, don't perpetuate that, change the name. Find someone else's name, fuck it. Oh, Christ. And that's a social thing. That's assuming that you need to do that. I don't know if it's a lot of men have that issue or mindset these days. My brother does, so that's why he had to do it. He's had 2 girls though, which I find hilarious. Or he's got a second girl on the way, due March. But neither one of those are going to perpetuate that name, I think, if that is something that he's trying to do, because they're most likely going to take on the name of whoever they're with. I kept my name when I got married though, but you know, that's just me saying I'm me. I'm not fucking changing me for you. But that was one of my first stands against my ex-husband, sort of thing, my independence. I accepted my identity and I stuck with it. I'm sitting there going, no, this is me. I'm not changing my name. I was born with this name. This is my name. I'm not a property of you. I pay my own bills. I am not into servitude and slavery. I'm not into submission and domination. You know, it's a weird antiquated thing where we have to take on the guy's name. It's like, I don't understand that myself. To be honest, even if you're talking about having kids, it should come from the woman. The woman does the work. Take on the woman's name. She's the one birthing all these babies, man. Guys don't do fuck all. I mean, how many hours in labor are we just so a guy can say, oh, I passed on my name? It's like, fuck off. Hours in labor. You know, all the care and everything that comes after it. Guys can't breastfeed. It's like all the healthcare, all the injections and shit you have to do while you're pregnant and all that discomfort and horribleness. If anything, the woman's gone through that much fucking trauma. Give her the trophy of the baby and get the baby to keep her name. Fuck the guy's name. What did he have, like a 3-second ejaculation? Fuck off. It's like you enjoyed yourself while you did it. You didn't earn anything. But that's just my opinion. I could be wrong, you know, right? But hereditary laws and all that shit where property goes from guy to guy, it's like, you didn't earn that, motherfucker. And that's an antiquated law as well, considering women are actually earning fucking good wages these days if we want to. We just got to stop accepting that, you know, we expect men to look after us. We don't have to. But again, that's another discussion. Can you imagine giving birth and then holding up the baby like, you know, Lion King style? My trophy! Oh, sorry. That was weird. Had to slam on my brakes. Some person needed to go into KFC apparently. Well, I'm glad my ABS works. Anyway, so on my old car it didn't. But that's the thing. It's like, anyway, I was talking about greed. We shouldn't be greedy. I don't understand how that relates to, you know, women changing their name when they get married. I don't know. But you see, my brain is old. I go on tangents. No, anything like wealth should be hoard. Shared. Oh my God, my brain really has kicked in now. Where are we going with this? But no, wealth should be shared, not hoarded, is what I'm trying to say. Whores. Got whores on the brain. Great, that's a good start to a Wednesday. Hussies. Yeah, women shouldn't be hoarded. People shouldn't be hoarded. You know, it's just another form of slavery. If you want to go into the communist side of things, maybe. Looking at it as an ideology, not as an actual practice thing, which I find that China and Russia is turning into fascism currently because the ideologies and the paradigms just aren't fucking there. All capitalism, for example, theoretically is the greed and hoarding of people in order to make them work for you. So you can turn a profit based on their efforts, their energies, putting the work in. It is greed. But what you do with the outcome should be productive. You are getting somewhat of a pay from working for someone. I'm currently walking into a classroom in about 2 seconds. So there's some greed needed there on my part because I still need my money in order to get my house and do what I want to do. But at the same time, it's not to the extent where I'm going to, you know, absolutely exploit the schooling system. I'm not going to somehow hack into their accounts and embezzle all their money and shit. It's a measured greed, to be example. Oh my God. And I'm the teacher. So there are some necessary aspects where you can be a bit greedy. Self-love, for example, but not too much where it goes to the point of narcissism. Self-love is self-care, so you need to stay healthy, functional, clean. Make sure that you're mentally healthy, emotionally healthy. Don't let yourself drop to the standard where someone can exploit you and take your shit through greed. But not take it too far. It's like you need some money, but not all the money. Even if you have all the money, you should be turning it into something that's more productive than just accumulating it to give you status in society. And we need to stop perpetuating the idea that these people are valuable because they have all the money. In fact, they're greedy bastards. They shouldn't be, you know, deified and glorified just because they have all the money. It's just proving that it's against a decent moral code, because if you really gave a shit about anyone, you'd be using that money to benefit other people as well. Particularly people that just had fucked up experiences where the world's just turned against them. For example, homeless people, drug addicts, people that are born into fucked up circumstances where there's no way they could have got out of that. But then you're sitting there with all your millions and everything, and then you're sitting there lording over them. I mean, we're supposed to be improving the quality of human life, not sitting there, you know, taking the piss out of people who don't have it, looking down on them. Whether they're actively looking down on them and you know, spitting on them, I don't know. I'm sure there's some disgusting rich people out there. But at the same time, it's like, it should be proper care. It's like you have developed this weird sense of entitlement where I've got all the money, I deserve it. It's like, no, you don't. You were given the money as a chance to help other people. That's why you were given the money. It can be just as easily taken away. I mean, how many times has Donald Trump been bankrupt? It's like, you were given the money to help other people. What did you do with it? I used it, I got greedy, I used my ego to exploit the situation. And then he got bankrupt. I think he's been bankrupt like 3 times now. And then they still elected him as president. I'm sitting there going, what the fuck is wrong with you people? He's clearly not the person for the job. He doesn't give a fuck about anyone else. He's all ego and greed. And yet now, apparently he's running for election again. I'm going, are you serious? You already nearly walked you into 3 world wars the first time. if not China, then the Middle East, and fucking the guy is out for himself. I don't know why they can't fucking see that. Crazy. I'm not even going into that today, but I'm just saying, all right? So I got to walk away from this because I got to actually walk into my classroom soon. If you ever get a chance to have access to something that is exploitable through greed, don't do it. Don't do it. I mean, karmically, it's going to fuck you over. Inevitably, you'll get screwed. Accumulating that much of anything is just bad for you. Everything should be in moderation, to be honest. Everything in moderation. Food, sex, money, even time with people, because people can become draining. I mean, I'm an introvert and I find these fuckers draining all the fucking time. And it's because I'm constantly trying to keep them happy or keep the show running or anything like that. And it's just... even I know that if I stuck around with these people way too long, I would drain my system completely out and I'd burn out. So even I have to take time for myself, be a little bit greedy, go home, find a dark room with very little sound and just lay down. That's what I do. That's how I recover. But that's, I'm autistic, so I don't know how it's different for everyone else. I go into what I call sensory dead zone. I drop everything. I don't want light. I don't want sound. I don't want anything. I just want fluffy fabrics to lay on and just be, so let's not be greedy, okay? It's not going to help you. It's not going to help anyone around you. So, I'm just going to have to leave it there, I think, because I've got to go into my classroom. So I hope you have a fantastic day. Don't take anything too seriously, but at the same time, don't take the piss. If you're my landlord, fuck you. I'm not going there. I've already got my game plan for that. I'm not taking that shit. I don't think you should have to do that. It's pure greed. I'm thoroughly pissed about that, but at the same time I've got backup, so I know what I'm doing at this point. I've already got a plan in play. I'm already looking at other houses. I'm going, no, fuck you, dude. That's taking the piss. So maybe this is the universe's way of shoving me onto the next level. Maybe I need to get a bigger house because something else is coming that I need to prepare for, that I can't prepare for in a one-bedroom house. So I'm trying to see the good in it, and I would save more money if I got a bigger house anyway to rent. Anyway, I'm trying to see the good in it. So I'm going to leave you there, guys, and I hope you have a fantastic Wednesday. I'm going to do another podcast on the way home. Although I will say these might become more staggered, these podcasts, because I am still finding work throughout the week. So it depends on, where I'm working. If it's a long trip like this, it's a 45-minute drive, it can be a decent podcast. But if it's like around the corner, because I'm a relief teacher, if it's around the corner, a 10-minute drive, you're not going to get much out of that. So I'm just not going to bother. Okay. All right, I'll leave you there, guys. Have a good one, okay? I'll see you on the way back.